So I'm a three-time successful whistleblower. So I know what I'm talking about.
You're watching the Spotlight Network, starring Hollywood's newsman, Logan Crawford.
They now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're joined by an insightful man. His name is Professor Patrick Farrell, and he is the author of a book you won't want to put down. It is called USA is a RICO, Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization. In this book and in this conversation, the author will lay out a provocative case about government corruption, tax subsidies, and how systems shape money, health, and everyday life. We'll also get into claims about food illness, cancer recovery, and spiritual transformation, and what he wants readers to do with this information. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Professor, thank you so much for joining me here today.
You're welcome.
Let's get into the title. It's great to have you on the show. The title is powerful. The USA is a RICO, a racketeering influence corrupt organization. Why do you say that? How is the US corrupt, like a RICO organization?
Well, the United States has gone through some drastic changes, like during the independence in 1776, after we beat the British, we didn't have any money, so we borrowed it from the British, and the British came in to recover their losses. They created the legal system with their bar association, lawyers, and judges, and they take a large amount of our money. And then in about 1933, after the stock market crash, the USA was without money again, and I believe they borrowed a lot of money from England. And then the Jewish Treasury and IRS and Federal Reserve created House Joint Resolution 192, which means the USA is funded by registering our birth certificates and giving them a value of $1 million. And basically, we become commercial transmitting utility units, and we're going to pay that $1 million back with our life force by working for companies, paying taxes, which goes to the IMF, not to the United States government. And then we buy goods and services from corporations. So we remain a slave with hardly enough money to live, while the people that benefit from it are corporations, and the government allows corporations to do this. So now we have this oligarchy of extremely wealthy people that make up only 1% of the population, and everybody else is poor and can hardly survive. The last night on Late Show, Bernie Sanders was on, and he was talking about how Denmark has free health care, free college, high wages, and low crime, and Donald Trump wants to take over their property and create this continuing oligarchy. And people in my book, people don't I describe how to go back into using paperwork and go after your birth certificate and become the owner of that $1 million bond to use it. And if you're the corpus and the grantor, you should be the beneficiary. You should be able to get free health care, food stamps, and things of this nature, at least that much.
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening. And I I mean, I'm connected with God. I'm a Kundalini yogi, and I'm connected with God, who is the source of information.
Mhm.
So I asked God for help because I didn't know what was going on. I know Wells Fargo ripped me off for $30,000,
Hmm.
but I went into a website called livinglies.com, and that basically spelled out what was going on in the mortgage market. And I connected my individual case with thousands of cases in hundreds of mortgage-backed securities, where my case was a blueprint and template for national fraud.
Hmm.
So I filed a lawsuit against Wells Fargo. I discovered this sovereignty and secured party creditor status. And over time, I filed a couple whistleblower complaints. And because of that, I got a refund of all the money I spent building the house and living in it for 2 years. I got a whistleblower reward after Wells Fargo got fined $5 billion because of what I said.
Yeah.
So I'm a 3-time successful whistleblower. So I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I had a legitimate reason for the Treasury to order Wells Fargo to give me a refund. And I got I lived in a brand new house for free for 12 years, and that was worth about $280,000, which was the value of the promissory note. So I got that back. And I got $80,000 back from Bank of America, which is the money that was spent to build the house and live in it, because the promissory note was procured by fraud. There was an inflated appraisal by Countrywide, an inflated note by Countrywide, inflated mortgage payments by GMAC, who charged me an extra $1,000 over and above the promissory note amount by charging me based upon the inflated appraisal. That's fraud.
Right.
And they did this all across the country. And when TARP funds came out, here's a major point. When TARP fund came out, it paid off all the defaulted notes. At that point, the deed should have been given back to the homeowners to live in it. But instead, the Republican banks like Wells Fargo and Bank of America said, well, now you owe the interest as a debt to foreclose. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't owe anything. And so they collected twice.
Yeah.
I mean, the mortgage-backed securities use the note as a debt. But after the TARP fund paid off the mortgage-backed securities, they used a collateralized debt obligation using the interest. So Wells Fargo made and Bank of America made tens of billions of dollars by stealing millions of homes. And the entire thing was created and done by the Republicans. That's why the government is a criminal organization, because the Democrats also voted for TARP. Well, TARP was a good thing. I mean, it paid off all the notes. At that point, everybody should get out their house back.
Right.
And the Democrats and Republicans both signed on for a phony war in Afghanistan and Iraq, which killed 1 million people, cost $1 trillion during Bush administration. And during the Bush administration, it's when the real estate bubble was created. So the government is just stealing all our money, making us sick by advertising the eating of meat, the drinking of alcohol, smoking, and taking prescription drugs. That gets people sick. We have an enormous healthcare costs that we can't afford, and nobody's got a plan to do anything about it. They won't go into the Treasury money that's created from our birth certificates to use that for our healthcare. Instead, they go to war, they do special interests, and it's all a takeover to try to get to reduce our sovereignty, to destroy our democracy and become an imperialistic regime like England. Now, I sent you a couple of articles last night to your email, and one of them is called Sovereign. And it's something I wrote during the mortgage crisis. It's 22 pages, and it goes into great detail about money and politics and how they want to create a one world government ruled by the Vatican, and all our money is being forwarded to the International Monetary Fund, which wants to take over smaller countries. And you see, this is what Trump is doing with Venezuela and Greenland.
Yeah. Amazing.
So that's the sovereignty and the money part. The another couple of chapters I have are the Seen Gospel of Peace, which is the gospel of Jesus Christ that came from the Dead Sea Scrolls that didn't make it into the Bible because the scrolls were hidden in caves for hundreds of years. But Jesus talks about fasting and then eating a vegetarian diet to be to live on this earth peacefully. He doesn't talk about surrender to me and you can go to heaven. He's talking about how to live on this earth exclusively becoming a vegetarian. He said if you kill your food, you kill your body, you kill your spirit, and your blood and the food turns your blood into poison. 2,000 years later, the National Cancer Institute and the World Health Organization both have studied and agree that eating cooked meat causes cancer and mutates your DNA. Well, I mean, how did Jesus know that 2,000 years ago? Because he's the smartest man to ever walk the face of the earth. And I modeled my life after him. So if you mutate your DNA, you're going to create dozens of diseases that people feel that the only way to solve it is to get surgery or take drugs.
Yeah.
Now, if you eat meat, drink alcohol, smoke, and do drugs, you're going to restrict your brain from doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
When you become I also talk about being a vegan and eating superfoods to counteract all the chemicals that you're eating in your food. So what happens when you become purified, your pineal gland wakes up and it operates as an antenna for higher thoughts. That's why I am the only man in the United States that got Wells Fargo fined $5 billion.
Wow.
Kamala Harris got Wells Fargo fined $4 billion. How in the hell did I get Wells Fargo fined $1 billion more than the California Attorney General who ran for president? Who in the heck am I, Logan?
Well, you're a man who knows what's going on in this country, no doubt. You've got a lot of great insight and a lot of great wisdom to share. Let me ask you this before we leave. You only have about like 1 or 2 minutes left. What should people at home who are reading your book do to turn around the situation? You mentioned eating healthy, adopting a vegan, vegetarian lifestyle. But what about the corruption in the United States that you perceive? How can we fight back about that in a peaceful way, in a political way?
Well, we're restricted in our decisions, so we definitely don't want to vote for Republicans, because if you do, you're voting to be ripped off. And Democrats want to take the money in the Treasury and use it for social services.
Right.
So what I'm suggesting in my book is that everybody follow the directions in the first couple chapters and try to reclaim your birth certificate and demand that the Treasury pay off some of your bills, like health care, that your health is being destroyed. And you got to purify your body, like Jesus Christ said. Become a vegan. I mean, eating meat, you're acting like Satan. You're thinking that life comes from death.
Yeah.
Life or bodybuilding nutrition does not come from death or eating dead animal flesh. There's no food value in it.
Yeah.
It's just poison.
Yeah.
So people have to raise their thinking. And the only way to do that, I've been a vegetarian for 52 years.
Yep.
And I became that after a spiritual experience I had in 1973, which I list in my book. I think I listed in the conclusion. But after doing a good deed, saving a sea lion that was distressed, I got it back into the ocean. Several hours later, a spiritual being appeared to me and said, "Don't take anything for granted."
Yeah.
After that, I became a vegetarian, a Kundalini yogi, and a metaphysician. So, I mean, all my skills and intelligence come from the source of life, which is God.
Yeah,
and I'm united
absolutely.
with God, and I'm trying to get people to unite with God and live a better life on the earth. A lot of Christians still eat meat. They say it's okay in the Bible, but on the first page of the Bible in Genesis, God recommends a plant-based diet.
Okay, I've got to stop you there, Doctor. You've done a wonderful job, Professor, on this interview. But let me tell the folks at home the name of the book in case they're curious and want to order it. The name of the book is The USA is a RICO, Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization. Professor Patrick Farrell's message challenges readers to rethink systems, health, and personal responsibility through a transformation of the mind lens. Professor, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Okay, you could recommend go to patrickfarrellbooks.com.
PatrickFarrellsBooks.com, absolutely. Go to that link. You can find out more about the professor's work, his insights, his knowledge, and you can learn from his example. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time.